Hello everyone, Ryan here. Justice League, Gods and Monsters. I really like this graphic novel. It is essentially a reimagining of familiar DC Comics characters such as Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. Of course, these versions are slightly darker, slightly edgier. This Superman, he is actually the son of Zod, and when he landed on Earth as an infant, he was found and raised by a Mexican family, and they named him Hernan, or Hernan, and pretty much for most of his childhood and into his young adulthood, he found it hard to, he really didn't found it hard to relate to people. But that was mostly because he didn't understand the limits of human beings. It took him a while before he understood that not everyone possessed the same abilities that he did. So yeah, pretty much he grows up finding it hard to relate to anybody, let alone the family that raised him. And this Wonder Woman, she's not an Amazon warrior, but she is from a distant planet called New Genesis, and which at the time she was battling this dinosaur creature, and she was unexpectedly teleported to Earth sometime, I believe, in the early 1960s. And which, by the way, her name was Becca, instead of the regular Wonder Woman, who is named Diane or Diana, I believe. She's named Becca, and of course she still has the same superhuman abilities, but she also has access to this kind of organic, spiritual kind of technology, which is pretty cool. I don't want to go into detail about that because I might give away too much of the story. But yeah, and then also too, I mean, for the most part, she's able to blend in with the rest of society, but just like Superman, she also finds it hard to relate to most human beings. So, and then of course, last but not least, this Batman, instead of being a billionaire playboy, he's actually a broke scientist by the name of Kirk Langstrom. And one day he comes down with some kind of rare form of leukemia, and he tries to cure it, but in doing so, he somehow turns himself into a vampire-like being, and of course, he's given all the strengths of a vampire, and at the same time, of course, he has to feed on human blood in order to maintain said strengths. At first, he tries to deny this hunger, but he eventually realizes that he can't. So he decides to just feed on the blood of criminals. But then even this eventually poses a big dilemma for him. So then eventually all three meet up, and they join forces against this scientist by the name of Dr. Alpert. And this Dr. Alpert, he figures out a way to re-engineer human DNA so that it essentially becomes superhuman DNA, and thus eliminating all disease, all flaws, and pretty much through this process, he's capable of turning anybody into an immortal being. So, of course, at first, the only people who can afford this are the super wealthy. So the first group of people who undergo this transformation, they end up being called the Forever People. And pretty much right away, the Forever People, they kind of take it upon themselves, although also with the encouragement of Dr. Alpert, they begin overthrowing a lot of the world leaders, and they establish their own kind of a hierarchical system of government. But then, of course, they quickly turn into this like worldwide tyranny, and that's when you have the Justice League, of course, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, they square off against the Forever people because they can see that they're letting all of this newfound power and newfound superhuman abilities go straight to their heads. So they square off against them, and pretty much that's when all the action ensues. And it's very good. It's very interesting. Of course, I don't want to say any more than that. I mean, because I don't want to spoil the ending. But I mean, it's some kind of happy ending, except that I don't know. I mean, granted, I like the traditional Superman. I like the traditional Batman, traditional Wonder Woman. But these versions, these alternate universe versions, they actually appear to be, I would say, slightly more relatable. Probably mostly because of the fact that they're much more flawed, or rather, their flaws are much more out in the open, and they don't hide behind any kind of false illusion of heroism. So, I mean, these versions, in fact, they don't even like really being called heroes. They don't, but at the same time, well, I mean, except for the Superman, because he's way more arrogant than the traditional Superman. But other than that, I mean, their flaws are just pretty much, visible for everybody to see. And I guess in a way, I kind of like that, because it makes them a little more relatable. So, yeah, I mean, I really liked it. If you're a big DC Comics fan, I do recommend reading it. Definitely. Of course, this one, I believe it's actually a prequel of the animated film version, which came out some time ago. I'm not sure exactly when, I think last year or a couple of years ago. I'll show you an example of some of the artwork. Here's the first page. There. Next page. So I really like the artwork too. Though I will say, I guess the artwork is not too detailed, but it's detailed enough. I mean, there's enough detail in it. So, but I would say definitely the story itself is very interesting, very intriguing. So yeah, overall I give 5 out of 5 stars, definitely. So yeah, that'll do it for this graphic novel review. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Till next time, keep it real, keep on rocking, and peace.